by Richland County. Case 3, Annex-2023-0013, 408 Piney Woods Road and 418 Piney Woods Road. Request recommendation on the assignment of the land use classification of transportation and utilities and the assignment of zoning of light industrial district for pending annexation. The property is currently classified as mixed residential high density and zoned light industrial by Richland County. Case number 4, under major subdivision preliminary plat review, S-Plat-2022-0070, 37.52 acres at the 4500 block of Percival Road. Request preliminary plat approval for the construction of a 93-lot, single-family residential subdivision, Victory Woods Village Phase 3. The property is currently zoned RM1, Residential Mixed District. Case 5, under future land use map confirmation, land use, or LUMA-2023-0001, 800 Dutch Square Boulevard. Request recommendation on the confirmation of the future land use classification of Urban Core Community Activity Center. The property is currently assigned an interim future land use classification of Urban Core Community Activity Center. Case 6, under the zoning map confirmation, is ZMA-2023-0011, 800 Dutch Square Boulevard. Request to confirm the zoning of Community Activity Center corridor. The property currently has an interim zoning of Community Activity Center corridor. And finally, case number 7, under zoning map amendment, ZMA-2023-0012, on the south side of I-20 at Spears Creek Church Road, a portion thereof. Request recommendation to rezone 34.4 acres from general commercial district to residential mixed district. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. Having heard the consent agenda, is there anyone on the planning commission that would like an item removed from the consent agenda and open for discussion? Hearing none, is there anybody from the public that would like to see an item on the consent agenda removed and put on to the regular meeting agenda? Hearing and seeing none, with none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the June 8, 2023 minutes along with the consent agenda items and any staff recommendations.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. Motion is approved. We will now move to the regular agenda.
Okay, the first item on the regular agenda is item number 8. It is Annex 2023-0010. It is a group of properties at 300 Clemson Road and 200 Clemson Road, including a 1-acre portion that actually fronts on Spears Creek Church Road. Tax map numbers 25700-02-03, a portion thereof, and 25700-0205, also a portion. And the request is a recommendation on the assignment of a land use classification of Community Activity Center Corridor, which is AC2, and Neighborhood Activity Corridor, AC1, and the assignment of a zoning of General Commercial District, GC, concurrent with a pending annexation. The property is currently classified as mixed-use corridor and zoned rural and residential single-family low-density by Richland County. The applicant is the property owner, but the representatives for the property owner are actually present. Briefly, I'd like to get into the staff recommendation on the request. Staff is actually recommending denial of the request. And actually, I should note a brief correction in the recommendation as printed. There it says that we recommend denial of the annexation and the assignment of the land use and zoning. And honestly, we're just making a recommendation on the land use and zoning district. The annexation is a different matter. But regardless, staff is recommending denial of the assignment of future land use classification of AC2 and AC1 and the zoning of GC, as a requested zoning would not result in a development pattern that aligns with the recommendations of the county's comprehensive plan for that area. The Richland County Comprehensive Plan states that the areas designated with a mixed-use corridor future land use classification should be, quote, transformed over time from traditional strip commercial development to mixed-use corridors connecting activity centers. And between activity centers, corridors should be redeveloped to convert single-story, single-use developments on individual lots to multi-story mixed-use formats that organize uses in a pedestrian-friendly format. And I will note that even though it is the county's land use plan, the county and the city did jointly enter into that land use project, although we adopted our own separate portions thereof. Be glad to answer any questions. And like I said, I know the owner's representative is here and present.
Is the property contiguous to the city?
Yes, yeah, and it is right in front of the, I believe it's called the Ashcroft subdivision, which is in the city.
Does the city serve water
Yes,
in the area? Okay. I guess Palmetto Utilities would be sewer.
that's correct.
With this being listed as an annex, are we not taking up the annexation component of it?
Well, technically, when the planning commission reviews annexations, you're making recommendations on the zoning and land use.
Okay. Got it. Any other questions before we have the applicant come up? Okay, the applicant's present.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bob Fuller. I'm an attorney here in Columbia, and I'm here this afternoon with Craig Waits, who is the real estate consultant for the property owner. I've been associated with this property for over 40 years by virtue of representation of Ms. Lee Laurie Prina, who has owned the property for almost 60 years. It was a tract of over 200 and some odd acres. It has now been sold after many years of being off the market for any purpose. And this remainder piece of some 15 acres is being presented to you as a proposal for general commercial property, which is consistent with what has been its anticipated use since the decision was made to sell any of it for any purpose. The discussion has been ongoing for many years, is consistent with what's happening in the area. We believe it to be an appropriate zoning for annexation and zoning within the city as well as within the county. Craig Waits can address the nuances of difference between general commercial and the CAC differentiations that we deem important, and I'm going to give him the opportunity to make that presentation and respond to those matters that may concern you. Ms. Prina initially took the position this property was simply to hold the earth together. Realities do change. She's still alive at over 100 years old, but in a nursing facility in Washington, D.C. She is alert and cognizant, though she has deferred most of her decision-making to others. But it was always her intention to have this property maintained in a manner that was consistent with the inference of Columbia and Richland County as it developed, although she would have preferred that nothing happened with it. So I will give any time that I have to Craig to present and to deal with it. And if you have questions I can address historically, I'll be glad to.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Craig? Yes.
Thank you. My name is Craig Waits. I'm with Colliers Real Estate Company here in Columbia, and as Mr. Fuller said, I am the real estate consultant for the property. Just to add to a little bit of the history, we've been working on the property for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years with staff. It was originally 227 acres, and we came up with a plan that would have.
Craig, can you speak a little bit more in the microphone?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now, Sanford? I'll lean down a little bit. Is that better? Okay. So we've had a plan in place for about 5 years, and it's always involved a single family, a multifamily, and a commercial component. As y'all are aware, we have developed the single family is under development with the Mungo Company now. There's also a multifamily project that is under construction right now. Both of those particular parcels and those projects were annexed separately, and they were annexed and zoned based off of the uses. So we come now to the commercial sector and the commercial portion of this property, and I think we all agree that in working with staff that there's obviously a level of commercial application to it. Staff has recommended a CAC zoning, and more or less we would contend that a GC is more appropriate for this area. I hope you didn't mind me sending you the email just simply because I tried to outline a little bit of what my thoughts were with regards to the differences between GC and CAC. But in short, there's 60 acres of GC zoning just to the north. In fact, that was actually rezoned from MU1 or MU2, one of the two. I can't remember what Mr. Gottlieb's property. It was rezoned from MU1, MU2. It was in the MU actual zoning in the city, and that was rezoned to GC last year to accommodate a Publix development as well as a convenience store that's planned for the corner of Earth and Clemson Road. So the GC district is established in the area, and in fact, it's established to the northern portion of the area away from I-20. So you would tend to think that the GC would be an applicable zoning on the southern side of that particular property, closer to the interstate. Also when you're looking at the CAC versus the GC zoning, I was actually part of the planning process, and when we started the new zoning ordinance, and I personally believe that the CAC is a little bit more urban oriented, and if you look at it, it does discuss pedestrian friendly and walkability, which I get, and we want that, but this is a 5-lane road with cars going 50 miles an hour. It's not walkable, and it's a quarter of a mile from the interstate. So I feel like GC is more of a more appropriate zoning if you just look at the general character of the area. Thirdly, as far as uses, one of the two things that the two uses specifically that are problematic in the GC would be drive-through restaurants as well as convenience stores. The convenience store use is not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the convenience store use is actually still allowed, but it requires that the canopy be placed in the back as opposed to the front. And for those of you that are in the real estate business and know that business itself, that it's not practical the way that the site would be set up. So it's really a deterrent for convenience store type use. So the GC does allow that, and I do feel like that this area and this particular property, portions of this property, are tailored to drive-through restaurants and convenience stores, and so that would be important for the GC zoning as well. And then I guess lastly, I guess my last point is that the mixed use from the county, it's really not a one-to-one. I mean, it's defined by mixed use, but if you look at what the definitions are and what they include and what they don't include, it's a blend. I mean, it's the CAC and the GC, and in fact, the description itself even says that GC is an applicable zoning in a mixed-use corridor. So, and then if you look at the county's land use map, I mean, it includes all of Two Notch Road, which is, dotted with convenience stores and drive-through restaurants. And so for all those reasons, I would, ask that the Planning Commission consider the GC zoning as opposed to the CAC as a part of the annexation. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from Planning Commission for the applicant?
Was this part of the original Ashcroft?
No, no, it was all part of the original 227 acres that the Prina property owned, and we ultimately subdivided the property. We've subdivided twice thus far. We sold off 180 acres to the Mungo, which became Ashcroft, and then we sold off another 20 acres to a Charlotte developer for the multifamily, and then we have this left. So we've actually only done 2 transactions, but on both of those we brought those in through annexation and zoned them for those particular uses at that time.
So it wasn't part of, or was part of the initial larger parcel?
It was, I would reframe it to say that Ashcroft was actually part of our parcel as opposed to us being part of Ashcroft, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Semantics, but.
Yeah.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here from the general public that would like to speak for or against the project? Nobody else? Is there any questions from the commission to staff regarding GC versus any other zoning? I mean, I would say that I did read Craig's email. There's a lot of valid points in here. There's GC just to the north of it. In my mind, it makes a lot of sense to be GC. So it feels right for this area. To me, it might not meet the plan, but if I'm a resident in these neighborhoods, I think GC feels right for what personally I would like to see there, but it could, give more of a mix of potential developments in the area.
Cinda, can staff elaborate a little bit more on the removal of the annexation portion and how that ties into how we're classifying the zoning without
Yeah,
that?
thanks for the question. It's not really the removal of, it's just that whenever the Planning Commission makes recommendations to City Council about properties that are going to be annexed, the Planning Commission recommendation pertains only to the recommended land use and the recommended zoning, and then City Council looks at the other things that are considered with an annexation. So this is standard for the procedural part. It was just that there was we just accidentally put that into the recommendation, that it included a recommendation on the annexation. Okay. That was just a typo, but it's not really changed the recommendation.
So for the public and everybody else, we are to go under the assumption that it is going to be annexed, and our recommendation is...
Yeah, the recommendation will go to council either way, correct, and they'll make that decision.
Any other questions for staff or for the applicant? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Annex 2023-0010, 9.1 acre portion, 15.4 acre portion, and 1 acre portion of 300 Clemson Road for the assignment of zoning of general commercial for pending annexation.
Second.
Got a motion to approve, got a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it, the motion is approved.
And the final case on the agenda is a text amendment. This is TA 2023-0003 request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17, Article 4, use regulations to remove the Fort Jackson spacing requirement for body piercing and tattoo establishments. And a copy of that change to the text is included in your packet. And if you have any specific questions about it, Ms. Hasty is here to get into details.
Essentially, there was a 1,000-foot setback requirement off of the Fort Jackson area, and now they're just removing that. Right?
Correct.
Is there anybody here, or does planning commission have any questions for staff, any concerns? Is there anybody here in the general public that would like to speak for or against this request? Hearing none, I will accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve TA 2023-0003.
I have a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Do we have any other business?
I don't think we do.
No other business. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? We are adjourned. Thank you.
You too, my love.
Take care. See you.